say to those that are worried that you might get hurt again, and this is
Yep.
something that's going to continue?
I appreciate your concern. I really do. I love this game, and I love it to the death of me. That's it.
Tua's returning. It's the talk. It should be the talk. It's big talk. Everybody's talking about it. So I guess I'm going to talk about it. And you gotta just try to be rational with Tua. I know it's so hard for some on this side. You know, he's worse than your grandmother throwing the football. On the other side, he walks on water. I think, you know, some on that left side have kind of come a little bit closer. You've seen, all right, well, this guy, you know, he's done some stuff. He's not that bad. They still haven't, you know, thought he was good. And then the other ones thought he was walking on water. Some of them come like, well, you know, he's got injury issues, and there's clearly some stuff about his clutch play we got to see more about. So I think the total Tua fan base has kind of moved more to the middle, although there is obviously always going to be the polarity on the stark left and right. So I'm in the middle. I've been saying for a while Tua, his release is elite. His anticipatory throws we kind of all knew about. His movement skills. But the injury part of it really had me concerned about drafting him. I wanted Burrow. I didn't want Tua because that hip injury, I don't think anybody I've ever seen come back from that. Didn't want Herbert because I believed all the hype about him not being a leader and this type of stuff. Burrow wasn't the guy I wanted. So, but I think this guy is a talented player. He's got holes in his game, but there is an elite trait, and I don't believe he's pigeonholed to quick throwing. And so I'm going to show you a bunch of stuff to show you what he's going to do. Obviously, year 1 and 2, we saw a huge impact with him on this offense. And in a smaller sample size, week 1 and week 2, it wasn't the same. So what's going on here? So I want to show you some images, film, side by side of Huntley and Tua to show you what this kid brings to this particular offense. And then I'm going to show you Huntley in last week, or this week last week against the Colts, to show you how he's just not really Tua. Obviously, he's got a little bit more health. He's a faster, more mobile, but his throwing ability is not. He's a practice squad quarterback. And so I'm going to look at that whole film there to kind of show you what he's bringing to this particular offense. I'm going to talk about this particular offense. And then I'm going to show you long-standing analytics from 2022, 2023, and 2024. And you'll see a stark trend. And then I'm going to take all that data and compare it to the top 5 or 6 points scored per game offenses. And you're going to see, whoa, it makes sense. Well, at least for some people, it might. All right, so take a look at these images here of Tua throwing side by side with Huntley in the play action. Okay, watch how quickly it comes out. One's an 18-yard play by Huntley and one's a 23. Now, look at the hitch. See the hitch? That hit Huntley has, he almost misses the window, but you see Tua throwing off a very loose platform, and he gets the ball out quick without even really planting. But you'll see now, and I also want you to understand that in those clips, it was 3 passes of Huntley and 4 for Tua with some room to spare. And it was 5 yards difference as far as the depth of target. So Tua's ability to get that ball out quick, some of it is the quick release, some of it's the loose platform that he can still generate where Huntley's got to, and then it comes out slower. A little bit maybe in velocity, but clearly the release itself is slow, and then the platform setup is slower. So it was 3 Huntley throws to 4 Tua. And that's a big deal in what this offense does because it gets it into windows. It gets it into pockets quick. Allows the receivers to catch that ball in stride before they're, if you notice with Huntley, when he threw it to Jonnu, he was almost face to face with the defender and he could have been knocked out. and there was no room for rack. So Tua obviously has that. Now you say, well, it sucks. That's all he can do, and this offense sucks. Yeah, it's not good if this is all you can do. If this was a piece of the puzzle, it would be potent if you could add other pieces. But Huntley doesn't have that ability. And for this offense, it's a big hit. And you saw Rondé Gatson say, the book is out, McDaniel can't adjust. And I want to get into some of that a little bit. It's mostly about Tua. And then I want you to understand that if you're a maestro at something, you can riff, you can adapt, you can change on the fly because you're a master. But the less mastery you have, the less ability you have to adjust and think on the fly. And so a weakness in adaptability indicates a lack of mastery. And so McDaniel had, you can understand early on, he had just fit Huntley into the system, but he had 2 weeks. And in those 2 weeks, he should have tailored towards who Huntley is. I see people saying, I did a thing on the receivers. I'm like, well, they weren't getting open. There was problems here and this and that. And I'm like, well, if you look at all 22, you see these guys open. Yeah, but what is open? And open for who? There's plays you could see here, and you would say they're open. But Allen can't make them. He can't get the ball out quick enough. He can't set up quick enough. Tua could get it in that spot. It's open for Tua, but it's not open for Allen. And then, obviously, Allen on the run, flicking it 90 yards. Tua can't do that. Tua can't throw the deep out. So when you look to see if a guy is open or not, you've got to go back to what the quarterback is able to do. And then you begin processing that. And it's also a lot easier when you're, sitting there drinking your soda and you're looking and he goes, who's open? It's a totally different story. You can see if you watch this film, Huntley's still not comfortable. Why? Because this is Tua's offense. It's based on his skill sets. Huntley, he's a practice squad player. He's slow to process. He's slow to set up in his stance and drive the football out. He's a mobile quarterback who's got a pretty decent arm. He could throw on the move pretty good. This offense should have been tailored around that skill set. And part of the reason is why Skyler is not succeeding and Boyle is not succeeding and Huntley. They're not great talents, but their strengths and weaknesses, their strengths are not being accentuated and their weaknesses are not being hidden. So you're going to see some plays right now, and Tua could have made them. Huntley couldn't. So here you go, right setup. This typical Tua. You got a 2-man route combination, 3 guys playing in a triangle, and Huntley is just setting up, and he doesn't really see it. And you see right here, he's expecting Waddle to get his head around quicker, and he's afraid of that safety at the top, right there, and he doesn't deliver the ball, and he's holding and holding. But then he's got Hill underneath. Then he gets the pressure and rolls out. But Tua could have waited that second, released the ball. He would have either gotten Waddle, he would have been aggressive to get Waddle that ball before the safety could get there, or he put it out in space before Hill came out of the break, and Hill would have got it. Now, it's not to say Tua is the greatest thing ever, but clearly that's what he could do. Huntley can't. And so he scrambles out, throws the ball away. Here you go. You see another one, sets up. Now, the left side, he had the comeback, and it was 2-on-3. He could have gone there, but he didn't. His eyes were looking right. But you see the linebacker's there. He's scared of that. He could have thrown in the pocket. Tua would have. And he didn't, because that's not who he is. So then here, this is Hill screwing it up. Let's see where the ball lands. If he had just gotten his head in the right spot, the ball could have been caught, and it would have been a big play. That was on Hill. Again, you can see here, there's a 2-man go here with the safety on top. His safety's on the back to the guy on the bottom. Tua could have put it up and laid it out and probably been a big catch. But Huntley can't do that. He is slow to process. He is slow to set up. And so Tua can wait that last little second where the guy's coming in, not get the sack, throw with anticipation. And so Tua's going to uplift this thing because he can do these things, and these things are critical to this particular philosophy and scheme, and is what McDaniel knows and feels comfortable with. But again, McDaniel didn't So if you got a guy who's slow to set up, slow to release, and he's slow to process, then you've got to cut the field down in smaller areas and create through route combinations plays that this guy can get small passes in instead of going for huge chunk yards, especially when you're pounding the heck out of him running the football. So Huntley made mistakes. He missed guys that were open. But McDaniel didn't set these things up. Simple things like slants, route combinations. I was watching the game the other night. It's the over-under. One guy does a post, a corner or a post out, and the other guy's doing an in or out underneath, and it frees guys up. Comebacks. Simple things to get the ball in the receiver's hands that's easy reads, shorter distance, because the longer the distance goes, the more difficult it is to make these passes. And some people, well, Tua's just hitting guys that are wide open. That's not easy. You see it all the time. You see quarterbacks that's really good, and they miss these deep balls. Tua is able to put the ball deep, even when the guys are wide open, and he hits at a high rate. Huntley's not that. That play that Huntley threw was a real nice one, and Hill screwed it up. But the reading prior to the release on that one you saw, it was a double man route, and the safety was here, and his back was turned. Then you got one-on-one. I forgot if it was Waddle or Hill. Tua would have read that and put it out into the corner, and the receiver would have been then break free like he did and you saw, and it would have been a catch. But it had to be read prior, and you had to have the release and the patience. And Tua has that. He's going to uplift this offense. But what is this offense? How much can he uplift it? Okay? And so there are very key things. You know, people, I don't get it. My accuracy has been very, very high. If you don't think so, go look at my previous podcast and tell me where I wasn't accurate. You're going to find some, but like the one guy's like, if you say 100 predictions and only 50 come out, big deal. No, it's much higher than that. Much higher than that. Because I don't just make knee-jerk reactions. I don't say crazy things. I kind of run fundamentals as my basis, and I do lots of studying. So when I show you this little graphic here, it's going to tell you what this offense is and why we're struggling. It's going to be a comparison to the offenses that are succeeding now. Okay? So when Tua is here, we average 12 points a game. When Tua is out, we're averaging, I think, about 11 now. Okay? So you see this graphic, TTT is time to throw. It's clean time to throw without being messed up. Average depth of target, ADOT. The amount you're being blitzed, the amount of pressure you're getting, points per game, and pass rush mitigation. Pass rush mitigation is the OC going, you know what, I'm not sure I feel comfortable with this offensive line protection. Sometimes the offensive line could be good, but the front, you got so darn good that you got to do something. And so you call screens, you call play actions, you add extra blockers. That's not factoring in. All this pass rush mitigation is simply screens and play actions. It's not taking into effect speed of throw, but you'll see the speed of throw, so you have to add that in as a booster. And it doesn't factor in extra blockers, which we add a bunch. Now, when you call pass rush mitigation, and not the speed of throw part, but then you add the extra blockers, that means less guy in routes. And if you're calling loads of pass rush mitigation and you're not being blitzed, that means you're throwing to stacked and full defensive back groups, secondaries, and you're short on guys to test them. It makes it harder, and we'll see that. So time to throw in 2022. This was an unbelievable year. McDaniel, Tua, Hill, Waddle, the whole thing was off the charts. Okay, so time to throw 2-3-5. I think it was like close to being the fastest. I can't remember right now. But the average depth of target was 10.7. Mind-blowing. He was blitzed 25.5% of the time. And the pressure, so when you're blitzed a certain rate and you see the pressure rate, how that pressure rate is based on the blitzing, there's a loose correlation. So if you're getting blitzed 25% and you're only being pressured 20%, you're doing a darn good job. Conversely, if you're being blitzed 25% of the time, but your pressure rate's higher than that, then you're struggling to pick up those blocks. Points per game, 23.4. That is a misnomer because Skyler was in for a lot and Tua was banged up. Pass rush mitigation, 48%. We came back the following year in 23, and we went from 235 to 209. That's a massive, massive drop. Okay? So you went 20.26 seconds. A quarter of a second. Massive. But in order to, I guess, maybe protect Tua, or there's other things involved, I'm not going to get into it, we dropped the average depth of target to 7.6. So the offense started getting more conservative. And you'll see a correlation between time to throw, because if you get it out quick, yeah, that's great, but you're not getting the depth. You're not letting receivers get separation. You're not allowing the big plays to happen as much. So we quickened the speed of the throw highly. The depth of target went down, became more conservative. We were still blitzed 22.7, but the pressure rate started going above that to 24.9. We were struggling in picking it up. And part of those struggles is probably why they shortened the routes and shortened the time to throw. Points per game, 29.2, still very good. Pass rush mitigation dropped 44.5, but that might have been why some of the pressure went up. Okay? So we came back in 24. This is just 2 games. It could totally change, but this is what we got. 201. It is now 0.34 faster than 22. Okay? And dropped. Remember, they can't, in PFF, they talk about true pass set protection. It starts at 2 seconds. They don't even count anything less than that because it's like almost impossible to get to a guy. So we've dropped it so fast, and it's a tribute to Hill, Waddle, and especially Tua, what you saw with those throws. They can't get to us. But the average depth of target went from 7.6 to 6.5. Conservative. Then now look at the blitz rate. It's almost half of what it was in 22. And it's 9% less than 23. But the pressure rate is still higher, 17.8 above the blitz rate. It's now 4.1%. But here's the point. Obviously, points per game are down. But look at the pass rush mitigation, 56. It is 8% more than last year. Let's see. No, actually more than that. It's 12% more than last year and 8% more than 22. But the pressure rate is still relatively high. So we've boosted protection of this for this offensive line to help them out. We're not being blitzed, so it's full secondaries, but they're still getting 17.8% per pressure rate. And you look at Tua, he's not causing a lot of that. Okay? And very little, actually. And then we've shortened the routes even more and shortened the speed of throw. This is an ultra-conservative offense. And so that's why we're going to compare it to the teams that have high points per game. Ravens. Time to throw, 252. Depth of target, 8.1. Blitz, 38%. 3 times what we're being blitzed. But they even have less pressure, 30%. So they're being blitzed 3 times, but they got less than double the pressure. So our pressure double is more than what their pressure is getting, but they're getting blitzed 3 times more. Obviously, Lamar is a piece of that puzzle, but it's not the whole thing. Points per game, 31.1. Pass rush mitigation, 45. So they got 11% less pass rush mitigation, blitzed 3 times more, but less 1 3/4 the pressure. If you double it out, factor it out. Commanders, rookie, 2.40 time to throw. Very conservative, 6.1, more conservative than us, but they're getting blitzed 36.9. We all know that if you're DC, you blitz rookies. But still, 36.9 blitz rate and 35% pressure rate. So it's a little bit less, but look at the difference between us and them. Obviously, it's double the pressure rate, but it's triple the blitz rate. Points per game, 31.1. Pass rush mitigation, 49.8, still about 6% less than us. Lions, 2.43 time to throw, 6.7 average depth of target, 41% blitz rate, 35 pressure rate, 30.3 points per game, pass rush mitigation, 45.7. What do you see? Go look at the teams and what's the common denominator. Not just on this little stat sheet, but on a second level. I'm not going to talk about it because people get a little upset when I talk about it. Bucks, Mayfield. Remember he was no good? 2.31, 30.3 seconds more than us. Just about the same depth of target, 6.4. 33.7 blitz rate. Only 26 pressure rate. So that's far less than double, but triple, just about 2.5 times the blitz rate. 29.9 points per game. That's going to go down with both their receivers out. And then pass rush mitigation, only 35.6. It's 21%, just about 20%. Less screens, less play actions, longer time to throw. I don't know about the blockers. Then the Bills, 2.31, 7.2, 35%, 36.8. So it's a little bit more. Some of that is because Allen doesn't have quick reads and quick throws. But they've been shortening stuff up as far as the time to throw. And I think he's not suited for that so much. They still got some more work to do. But I think they might get there. Points per game, 28.4. And pass rush, 31.8. That's why you're getting higher pressure. It's almost 25% less pass rush mitigation, and obviously it's higher time to throw. Don't know about the blockers. But look at that. Look what you're seeing. Points per game. These are not conservative offenses. Defenses are not playing conservative against them. We're conservative offense. The defenses are playing conservative, and it's not working out. Maybe the run game breaks it open. Tua certainly helps, but you can't have that stat line. Quick throws, short passes, not being blitzed, and then huge pass rush mitigation and expect to have explosive plays. Like, why is there a difference? You're crazy, Curtis. You don't know football. I don't know what to tell you. Tua will get left holding a bag, and McDaniel to some extent, and clearly we see McDaniel is not adaptable. And he's got flaws. And Tua is not perfect. Obviously, the injury is most notable. But that is ultra conservative, and defenses are playing ultra conservative. Conversely, the top scoring teams are aggressive for the most part. But at least if they're not being ultra aggressive, the defenses are playing them aggressive, which opens up opportunities. So, guys, it's very clear when we evaluate this season, you've got to evaluate. Yeah, McDaniel, without a doubt, he doesn't run a tight ship, and he is not adaptable, and he is not what he should be in year 3. Clearly, Tua, he's not the bee's knees in all things, most notably with the injury department. But looking at this, there's got to be something else that teams are not blitzing us, and our protection needs all that help, and the pressure rate's still pretty good, even though we're ultra fast throwing the football and we're ultra conservative in the depth of target compared to the other teams. But I'll leave you to figure that out. Sorry if I got to be a little sarcastic. I saw that clip from Tua, and I thought that was honorable. It was warrior status. The guy clearly has injury issues. I'm not sure if he's clutch, but he loves the game. He's willing to sacrifice his body. You could say because of the money. Maybe, but I don't think so. He's been doing it his entire time through this, suffering from serious pains and then coming back out to play. The guy's got heart, and I'm not saying he's the greatest ever, but if you put him in any one of those other offenses, he would have more success this year because those are offenses that aren't gimmicky. And it would accentuate some of his talents and then unlock some of his talents that haven't been accentuated because of what we have here. But you can decide why. Guys, I appreciate all your time. You're the best. Curtis saying, be well, go Fins. Curtis out. Start building your own online sportsbook today by getting signed up with aceperhead.com service that'll allow you to book action on sports from all around the world.